All right, today we're going to talk about vertex form and transformation, so let's get started. So first off here, we have the vertex form of a quadratic is this formula right here, and the vertex is h comma k, and the axis of symmetry is x equals h. So remember, the axis of symmetry is the line that goes through the middle of your parabola. All right, so h represents the horizontal shift, which is basically how far right or left the graph has shifted from x equals 0. K represents the vertical shift, which is how far it's either gone up or down from y equals 0. So you usually start at 0, 0, and any change from there is considered a shift or transformation. All right, so now here's the formula. Definitely make sure you get all these parts written down because they are all very important to interpreting a parabola and then how it moves from the original form or the parent function. So let's go ahead, and we've got y equals ax minus h, and that's all squared, plus k. So I've got all the parts. So first, let's start with a. If a is positive, it's going to go open up. If a is negative, it's going to go down. So that's very important. Another thing that a can tell us is if a is greater than 1, it's going to stretch or narrow, meaning it gets really skinny. So it'll be really skinny, and the bigger the number, the skinnier or more narrow it's going to get. Now, if a is between 0 and 1, it's going to flatten, or it's going to, they say it's compress or widen. So that's where it becomes a little more flat, it widens out. And that's if it's between 0 and 1. All right, another part that's very important is you need to know h. Now, if you notice, I put parentheses around the h because it's minus h. So if you look up here, here's why. If you were to see a plus h here, you know it's going to go left. Well, typically when we think of plus, we want to go right. However, what you're actually doing is you're actually going minus, because you're always subtracting, so you're minus a negative h. So that's why in this case, you're actually going to go left if you see a plus. All right, and then the opposite would be here. If you see a minus h here, you're actually going to go right. And that's because you're actually doing minus a positive h here. So that's right. So you're looking, so break this negative or the subtraction sign into parentheses, and that'll make it a little bit easier, because a common mistake is kids forget what direction to go. Now k doesn't change at all. K is, if it's positive, it's going to go up. If it's negative k, it's going to go down. So that one's pretty easy. This one is the one kids make mistakes at typically. All right, so now let's go ahead and let's order the functions from the narrowest to the widest. So remember, look at the absolute value of a. So I highlighted the a values for you, and I did number 1 for you. So what we did here is, even though this is negative, we don't care about that. We're only looking at that part. So we've got a 2, a 1/3, and a 4. So if we are to put this in order, the biggest number is going to be the skinniest, and that would be 4. The next number, so after 4, it would be 2. And that's the one in the middle. And the smallest number would be the widest, because that's the one that's compressed or flattened the most. So the order would be h of x, f of x, and then g of x. So I already highlighted the numbers for you. You're going to go ahead and you're going to complete that one, put those in order from narrowest to widest. All right. Now, let's go ahead and let's look at the translations and identify the vertex. So again, you have to know what all the parts mean to this. And the original function, written with all the invisible numbers, is this. So you would have y equals 1, x minus, and remember that's 0, squared, plus 0. So that's your original. So any changes from there means that there's a transformation of some sort. So I color-coded what I wrote here on here, so that way you can follow along. So let's look at this equation, and I went and I rewrote it. And so far, there's nothing here, so this is actually this part right here. Okay? There is no 1, so 1 is your A value, so there's no change there from here, so we're good there. We've got 0, 0, so we're good here. The only change from here to here is 5. So that means that you're going to go up 5 units, and that's the only change. All right, and in this case, the vertex is HK, so your H is 0, and your K is 5, so this is your ordered pair, 0, 5. And then that is the point where your vertex is at. All right, let's go ahead, let's look at B. Now B has a negative, so right away with that negative, I know it's going to be reflected, meaning it's going to go down. Okay, and then also, if you notice, I have 2. Well, 2, we said up here, that 2 is greater than 1, so it's going to become more narrow. So we say that it's stretched or narrow by 2. So that's what this means. And then remember, for H, it's really minus whatever is in here. So your H is actually positive 2, so that means that you go right 2. And there's no change here from 0 and 0, so it didn't go up or down at all. So then your vertex, we said, was HK, and that's your vertex here. All right, so for C, you have 1/2. Well, 1/2 is different because that's 1 and this is 1/2. So we know it's going to compress or flatten by 1/2. And then if you notice here, that's -3. So -3 is different because it was 0. So this means you're going to go left 3 units. And then this is different from up here, and that means you're going to go up 4 units. And again, if you put this together for the ordered pair, your ordered pair should be -3 and 4. All right, I highlighted everything for you, but what you're going to do is you're going to go ahead and write what translations happened, and you're also going to identify the vertex. All right. So now here's the main part where we're going to start graphing from the vertex form. So from vertex form, again, you're going to use your formula. I rewrote it here with the colors. Your vertex is H and K. If A is positive, it opens up. If A is negative, it opens down. And that was a horrible, but it should have been curved. There you go. All right. So now I'm going to give you a couple different ways. When you're charting points, one way is you can just plug in your values for X and Y into whatever your equation is. Or you can move left or right, 1 from H, and then plug in the X value, continue for more points. Then there's also a shortcut. Start at the vertex, and then you're going to go 1 unit right or left, and then depending on that, you're going to go up or down. So I'll show you this way in a second. So go ahead, copy that down. All right, so let's go ahead, let's get started with number 1. And for this one, I've already graphed the parabola for you, but I'll show you where I got all the information from. All right, so first off, I rewrote this equation here because remember I said this is really a positive one. So we go HK, your vertex, is going to be 1.4, and you go 1, 4, which is right there. So now what you're going to do is move left or right 1 unit, and then all I did was if I'm starting at 1, what I did is you can plug in 0 or 2 for X to plug in your information and find it. So what I did is I plugged in 2 to wherever X was, and then when you simplify that, you get 2 minus 1, which is 1, square it, and then you'll get 2 times 1 plus 4, which is 6. So your ordered pair would be 2, 6, and then that's where I got this from. So 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then you're just going to reflect it on the other side. So if we went over 6 here, you would go over 1 and then go up 6 also. So reflect. So that's one way to do it. And that would be just to plug in your points, which is what we talked about. Now, the vertex, I already said, was 1, 4. And then now let's come over here. I'm going to show you a slightly different way, and you pick which way you want to do, but it is important that you understand how to do both ways to substitute information in. All right, so let's go ahead, let's do this one. Oh, I forgot to circle this part, sorry. Decide if the parabola opens up or down. Well, it's going to open up, and the reason it opens up is because A is A is positive. So since A is positive, that means it's going to open up. We stated the vertex and we graphed. Okay, so now let's go here. Decide if the parabola is going to open up or down. Well, since A is negative, this negative right here means that it's going to go or open down. All right, so I'm going to show you the 1, 3, 5 way. This is a shortcut. So what you do is you graph your vertex. Well, your vertex is H, K. And if you notice, I rewrote this plus to minus and minus. So that's where we get -1 and 2 is your vertex. And that's what I graphed right here. So vertex is -1, 2. All right, so let's look at A. So A is -3. So this is a shortcut kind of way. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to substitute in A, and I'm going to go left to right 1, and then since A is -3, then I'm going to go down 3, okay? So A is 3, so let's go ahead. So I'm going to show you how to do it. So starting from your vertex, I'm going to go to the right 1, and then go 1, 2, 3, and that's going to be my point. Okay, and then I'm going to do the same thing on the other side, where I'm going to go over 1 and then go 1, 2, 3, and then that's going to be my other point here. So remember, your vertex is going to be, your parabola is going to be reflected along the axis of symmetry. Then I'm going to go ahead, now we're going to run out of space, but I'm going to move over 1 more. Then I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And we're just at the very bottom. And then remember, this is reflected over here too. So I'm going to go over 1 and then go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And that's where my other point's going to go. And then now you can just go ahead and connect your points. And it is curved, so there, even though it might not look curved, it is curved. And that's what it should look like. All right. Now, what you're going to do is you're going to do this problem. And I don't care which way you want to do, but you do need to know how to do this way. You need to know how to substitute in values, but this is more of a shortcut, the 1A, 3A, 5A. All right, and last, we have writing the equation of the parabola. And again, I rewrote the equation up here. So that way you can plug in, find A, you have to plug in a point in the vertex. So in this case, the vertex is right here, which it says it's -1, +3. So that's the vertex. So what we did was we plugged that in to our equation. And now we're going to pick any other point. It's the easiest to pick the y-intercept because you have 0 as x. So we're going to plug in this point here. And then, so now we've got our vertex and we've got a point, and we're going to substitute those values into your equation. Once you substitute those values in, you get A times 1 plus 3. So then you're going to subtract 3 and you'll get A equals 2. So now let's go ahead and let's substitute that in with your vertex, and then you will have y equals 2 times x plus 1 squared plus 3. And remember, it is a plus 1 because you're going to change your sign since it's minus a negative. All right, I want you to go ahead and try this, and then that is how you do vertex form and transformations.